Hi there, my name is Macy Jacob, and we're here today in South Hudson at Casa Cacao, chatting with Cat Ridgeway.
No!
And we also have the tourists here with us today.
Hello, my name is Natalie and I play drums.
Hello, I'm John. I play the bass.
I'm Christian. I play the saxophone.
Can you guys give a rating out of 10 on what it's like touring with Cat?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 on that.
I say 11 as well.
Yeah, we're taking it up to 11.
What's the landing? Oh. Now, what's one thing that sucks about being on tour?
Are so good. I mean, the traveling with the in the van, take spaces. Sometimes I get a little car sick, but I tap out pretty quickly and fall asleep very easily, so I can hit the hay real quickly and kind of that can pass the time for me if I get car sick and nauseous. So that would be it for me. Some motion sickness gets to me.
I think lack of sleep is kind of rough sometimes. And then traveling, long travel. But, not that bad.
Awesome.
Specifically, this tour would probably be we had a small van issue that we had to get fixed, so that kind of detoured a lot of things, but we made it work, and here we are.
And back.
We got her back.
All right, you guys are really awesome. Thank you so much
Thank
for chatting
you.
with us. All right, Kat, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What is your favorite place to play at so far on tour?
Ooh. Honestly, anywhere. I just love being able to play to people who care about indie music. Like, I know that's such a broad answer, but genuinely, it's been a real blessing to get to do this across the country. I will say though, I do tend to prefer when we are able to have our stage plot where Nat on drums is to my side rather than behind me. That makes a really nice difference because then all four of us are kind of almost in a semicircle where we can see each other, and the show has felt more electric in those instances, but I love playing anywhere that people will listen.
I love that.
Yeah,
it seems like you have a pretty crazy live show.
it's very sweaty. Yeah.
Yeah. Where does that energy come from?
I honestly probably the copious amounts of coffee that we have on the road. I don't know. I mean, when you start playing music and you have the crowd and you can tell that they're into it, there's just kind of this feedback loop that continuously grows through the arc of the show, and when you catch that wave, it's pretty easy to ride it,
I think you kind of make them into it. I mean, even from seeing just a short clip of your performance, I was like, she's awesome.
Oh, thank
She's
you.
crazy.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because I first really started getting into music when I started playing all these cover gigs, and when you're shoved in the corner of a restaurant and no one's listening to you, you learn how to work a room where you kind of put into what you're doing. And so as I started learning these certain songs and certain dynamic markers that seemed to draw people in when I was playing other people's songs, I started trying to work those same elements into my own music and my own show, and it's actually been really cool to see it work.
So,
Yeah.
what's your favorite song to cover?
We do a really cool cover of Dreams by the Cranberries, and at the end there's just this huge vocal loop stack that I do, and it's really, really fun. But we also do a really cool cover of Queens of the Stone Age, No One Knows. I actually jump on drums for that.
I love that song.
Yeah, cool. And then the last one that we have in the rotation a lot is we do Woman by, it's like a combo of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac that goes into Woman by Wolfmother, and I'm on banjo the whole time, so all the metal riffs are on the banjo.
Yes.
Dude, that is such a freaking move.
It's kind of a crazy combo.
It is, but it really works because when you break it down, bluegrass music and metal music are literally the same thing, just in a different context.
That's kind of like the thesis of your music, I feel like.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to blur the lines.
I love that. So your latest single actually just came out a couple of days ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Epilogue.
Yes.
So that's a rock song.
It totally is.
And can we expect some more songs like that on your upcoming album, Sprinter?
Yeah, for sure. I think Epilogue is probably the craziest one in terms of how just like unhinged it gets.
Yeah.
But the rest of the record is definitely in the more rock realm, and I'm definitely hitting some vocal craziness in other songs that, you know, it makes sense for Epilogue to sit on this record with the other songs.
You have a couple more singles coming out that we can prepare for?
We do. We're actually we're kind of deliberating right now on which ones are going to be coming out next, but there's a handful. I like all the songs that we're discussing right now, but yeah, I would expect another 2 or 3 songs probably to come out before the record does in spring.
Awesome. I'm very excited to hear it.
Me too. I'm so excited for people to hear it. I've worked so hard on this record. It's insane.
I bet you have.
Yeah.
What was your major influence for this upcoming album?
I think rather than like citing one band or something, I would say more just the indie rock genre as a whole. When I was first getting into music, that was the music that made me want to make music. And just through different life circumstances and the people I had available to me that I worked with on previous records, I made more kind of Americana leaning music that I still love. But I realized once that started to kind of like catch some traction and I was headed down that path, I was like, you know, if I'm gonna continue to do this, hopefully for the rest of my life, I think it's time for me to make this shift into the stuff that I'm most passionate about.
Yeah.
And so I just went back to all of my high school stuff. Like I had demos that I literally started in high school that ended up on this record. And so yeah, I think just all the stuff that I was into in high school, which actually I can kind of trace back to one podcast, which is really wild.
Wait, what?
I know. So I got really into Tegan and Sarah's The Con when I was in middle school.
Okay.
And Tegan was a celebrity guest or something on like CBC Radio 3 one day. And she's like, hey, these are all the bands that I've been listening to. And I listened to the whole radio show, and it was just one indie band after another. Boom, boom. And it was literally like someone was like, here's what indie rock is. Here's the stuff you love, you know?
You just loved all of it?
Oh, I loved it all. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? You know, because I grew up in private Catholic school where I wasn't really exposed to a lot of music like that. And yeah, so to just have it laid out for me was pretty awesome.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
So going back to what you said about, you know, growing up, how was it wanting to be a musician and did anyone in your family like understand what you meant?
Totally, actually.
Awesome.
My dad, in particular, his whole side of the family is super musical. His brother is actually, his brother has played guitar forever. Used to sit in with B.B. King and stuff like down in the Mississippi Delta.
Oh my God, so you were in good hands.
Oh yeah, totally. And my brother though was, I joke all the time that it's his fault I'm doing all of this. But he started taking guitar lessons when I was, I think, in kindergarten, and I would just sit in the corner and stalk his lessons and be like, that's so cool, I want to do this too.
Oh my God, so you kind of like took over his lessons a little bit. Like, you heisted his lessons.
Yeah, I would just sit there and listen, and then eventually my parents are like, do you want to do this too? And I was like, yeah, I do actually, but at the time my hands were physically too small to get all the way around the guitar deck.
Yeah.
And so I ended up learning drums because I could hold drumsticks. And then that just started this huge spiral of instruments in my world, you know. I joined the school band a year early, started playing trumpet, but my Catholic school again was so small, we didn't have enough kids to cover all of the instrumentation and all these arrangements. So my band instructor would be like, hey Kat, can you play trombone on this? Can you play trumpet on this? Drums on this? Piano on this? And I ended up learning all these different instruments and also in turn learning how arrangements worked because I was playing all the different parts of this whole piece, right? And that definitely really shaped, I think, like how I look at production and songwriting as well.
Yeah, so do you produce your own stuff?
I do. I co-produced this next record with my buddy Mike Savino, aka Tall Trees.
Okay,
And yeah, we had a hell of a time, man. It was awesome. I adore that man.
I'm so excited to hear it. So you play a lot of instruments.
Mhm.
You want to give us maybe like a rundown of everything that you play?
Yeah. So I started off on trumpet, trombone, guitar. I also know a little bit of piano, a little bit of bass, mandolin, harmonica, banjo. There might be another sneaky instrument or two,
but ask you what you don't know.
Well, the answer is all of them well.
What about, what's that instrument that like has no strings? You just like go like this.
Oh, a
like
theremin.
From the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. Those are so cool.
Yeah,
Those are so
you know how to
cool.
play that?
I've never messed with one, but I mean it looks pretty. Like I've seen people do it, and I kind of get how it works. I think it's like the timbre is like in one hand and the pitch is in the other, so it's like woo.
You're ready to teach a class on it.
I mean, at least that's what it looks like. I don't know.
Amazing.
Yeah,
The theremin.
it's cool. Theremin.
180.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about the music industry, what would it be?
I think, I don't know the solution to this, but I will say one thing that weighs on a lot of artists, myself included, is the need to kind of be everything all at once when you're growing. Because you're having to be a content creator and a marketing person and your own graphic designer and a booking agent and a tour manager and a blah blah blah. But yeah, I just feel like the art form of making music, and specifically making like a record that's meant to be listened to all the way through, is getting lost in what's also an art form of making content. And they're both super valid, and they're both needed, and they're both great things. But to have to bear the weight of both of those when you wanted to be on this side is a lot, you know?
Yeah, there's no way around it.
Yeah, there is no way around it right now, but it is something I wish I could change.
Do you feel like you've sort of started to reach your core audience on social media? And
I do. I've really felt a shift as we've moved into the new record. And also the people who are showing up at shows on this run.
Yeah.
It's a very different energy than what we experienced before, but man, like the conversations I'm having at the merch table and stuff after the shows, people are so cool. I mean, everyone always was cool, but getting out of your hometown and seeing like an actual kind of sort of demographic start to surface is interesting. So our audience has been a good deal younger actually than what we were playing to down in Florida. But it's been really cool. Very artsy people showing up, deep thinking people, which makes me really happy because I feel like they're getting the music, you know?
yeah, you feel really heard, like really
Yeah,
understood.
I do, yeah. And I don't feel like my lyricism on the previous records really allowed for that type of connection, because those songs were actually made with the purpose of being kind of escapism types of vibe pieces is what we called them.
Yeah.
You know, like it wasn't meant to be like some super deep poetic thing, but then on this record I wanted to allow people to get to know me on a different level.
Yeah, so you think it's more personal?
Very much so, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that. And who do you think should be listening to Cat Ridgeway?
Well, we've joked that this record has shifted me into making indie rock for overthinkers, so I think anyone who thinks way too much will probably really dig this record.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyone who's deconstructing from religion probably would kind of dig it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking I was going to ask you something about that, but I didn't know how to really get into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to maybe like briefly tell us what your experience is like?
Yeah, I mean, just I've always kind of been at odds with religion in a way. Being raised Catholic, you know, it's as much a framework of philosophy as it is a culture, and I started to find when I kind of came into myself, like, oh, like there's a lot of stuff with this I'm not fully aligned with. Though I believe in like higher power and like being connected to a thing and everyone being interconnected through that thing, but I feel like religion's just kind of a man-made thing, and therefore it's inherently flawed because humanity is inherently flawed. And so I just remember like when I got to high school, I took a humanities class after leaving Catholic school, and the first thing we did was read the book Siddhartha, and it's all about Buddhism, like asceticism and stuff like that, and they're talking all about all these different philosophies, and I had a borderline existential crisis in like freshman year high school, because I was just like, oh my god, everything I've ever known and ever believed in, I've only ever believed in because it was all I was taught. And I once I realized how much was out there and how many beautiful things are out there, I was like, oh wow, I have some reading to do. Yeah.
That was very profound. I love that answer.
Thank you.
How do you translate those feelings into some upcoming songs of yours?
I think Epilogue is definitely the apex of that. It was kind of funny, the arc here, coming full circle. I started writing this song when my last dog, we lost him. And yeah, it's like the most heartbreaking thing. And I was just thinking to myself, like, he was also a little shit, but in a different way than Wilson. And I was just like, man, toward the end of his life, he was having a hard time walking around. And I was like, I just know in dog heaven, he's just running circles around everybody. Yeah. And I was like, he's just raising hell up there. And then I was like, raising hell up to heaven. Yeah. And then, so it started as kind of like, weirdly, this tribute to my dog, Bug.
I love that.
But then as I started writing it, these, like, more and more of these religious themes by nature of hell and heaven being in that line started emerging, and I was like, oh, this is I need to just throw, sorry Bug, but like, I need to throw that out the window and just allow this to be what it's wanting to be. And so that's kind of how it came to that's how the writing process was kicked off. But it was a very informative experience of writing that song for myself. Like I feel like I got to know myself in the process of writing that, because I was like, what do I think about this, and how do I express something about religion and stuff without being just straight up irreverent, you know?
Yeah, or like monologuing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we ended up with something really cool.
I love it.
Thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of people love it too.
Thanking you.
And I love that you feel like you're connecting with your audience a lot. And
yeah, that's been extremely fulfilling. It's something I always wanted, and to actually be living it now is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is so amazing.
Thank you.
And this is your first tour too, so that's crazy.
First proper tour with the band, yeah. I've never been able to take my bandmates out on the road before. I've only ever done solo runs and stuff, and even then they were really short. This is the longest I've ever been gone from home doing this, aside from like residency style stuff, because I'll go out to Colorado seasonally and play at some of the ski resorts out there.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's super fun. I snowboard. It's a great time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm ready to join you.
Come on. I'll be back in December. Let's go. Come on. So come find me in Vail. If you're in Vail, come find me. I'll be on the mountain.
Okay, so how long is your tour? When are you done?
So this first leg is about 3 weeks straight. That'll take us through the end of October, and then we have a second leg that'll be the tail end of November through the first half of December.
Okay.
And then I'll be back out in Colorado for a couple of months. The record's going to come out probably March, April of next year. And then there's been a lot of discussion around touring for upwards of 4 to 6 weeks in the West.
Yeah.
So next spring we'll probably be doing a hell of a run, and I'm really pumped. That's parts of the country I've never seen before, and these dudes just kick ass, and they're so down to just go do all this stuff, and it's been really, really fun and very fulfilling to get to do it with people who really connect with the project, but also like we're just really close as friends. Like we've been on the road for a week or so now, and this is the first time this iteration of the band has ever been together. Like Nat, our drummer, just joined the band like weeks ago.
Wow.
And
insane.
yeah, and it was just like boom, yep, that fits like a glove, and it's been incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have anything negative to say?
No, I really don't. I would just say that you got to be able to roll with the punches, like when the van breaks down and you got to leave it in DC, and then you got to get a rental car and take it up to New York and then drive it back down to DC and then get back up to Buffalo within like 24 hours, and you drive your bandmates through the night and show up in New York at 6 a.m. so early, in fact, that you're the first people in the bagel shop.
That's
It's like you gotta just be ready for nights like that. And gratefully, I am pretty good under stress. I hope they would agree. It's been more just like funny.
Well, they said you were an 11.
What can I say? What can I say?
Okay, and for our last question off the record, who do you think is Orlando's second favorite singer-songwriter?
Oh no, I can't.
Because you're the first, of course.
Stop. Oh my god, probably me. There's so many people who like should be number one. Oh my god, that's a burner of a question. Mickey Mouse.
Okay. Okay.
To all all my friends in Orlando, you. The answer's you.
Yeah.
You know who you are.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Alright, well thank you so much for being here with us today. Be sure to check out Cat's latest single, Epilogue, and her upcoming album, Sprinter. When is that coming out?
Spring of next year.
Please make sure to go check out Cat's latest single, Epilogue, and check out her album, Sprinter, coming out spring of next year. And if you can, see her on tour later this year. Where can the audience find you?
Yeah, you can find me if you go to my website. It's just catridgeway.com, and it's cat with a C, not a K. All my stuff is linked at the bottom of that page, or you can just search my name on pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, Cat Ridgeway, everywhere.
Yeah.
And make sure if you like this video to like and subscribe, and follow us at BRIGHTMOSS Productions on Instagram.
BRIGHTMOSS rocks.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.